Welcome to the Oxford Clay Pottery Podcast. I'm Catherine Tomlinson and I started an eco conscious pottery company called Oxford Clay. Now, Oxford Clay, I don't just make pottery, I also make books and courses for other potters who want to be more environmentally friendly in their pottery making. And that's what this podcast is all about. And I can't wait to get started. Let's go. Hello, welcome back to the Oxford Clay Pottery Podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Tomlinson, and this is very exciting because we've reached episode 10 of the series on making a mug, like from start to finish, raw glazing it. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about firing the mug. So we're firing the mug straight up to stoneware, like we've talked about in terms of we're not doing a bisque firing first. And so in this episode, we're just going to cover really like the firing process and then going to show you the mug at the end, how it turns out. And I'm quite relieved I'm able to have a tea in it, I can confirm. So, right. Okay, so the first thing to say is that yes, we're going to be firing this mug up to stoneware temperatures. So the firing, so all the kind of different series of temperature kind of changes and stuff in a kiln is called the kiln firing schedule. So you don't basically just switch it on and fire it like straight up to, its maximum temperature. It quite often has like different phases of heating. And that is just so, we might want to heat slower at some points just to get the clay kind of like, to burn out all the maybe like organic substances in it, or just, so it doesn't explode. If it's very thick pieces, you tend to fire a bit slower. So the kiln firing schedule that I use for stoneware glaze firing is it's 80 degrees Celsius an hour per hour. So the kiln is going from, say, like, naught. Well, it's not naught degrees. It's room temperature up to 80 degrees, like well, hang on, that's not right. It's going from like say for example it's room temperature, it's adding on 80 degrees Celsius in that first hour, and then the next hour it's adding on another, it's heating up another 80 degrees Celsius. So it's 80 degrees Celsius per hour up to 200 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's the technical term for that in a kiln firing schedule is called the ramp speed. So it's like basically the speed at which it's ramping up the temperature. And then it starts to ramp a little bit quicker. So that initial bit is 80 degrees Celsius per hour. And then once it gets to 200 degrees Celsius, I then heat the kiln to, so then the kiln is heated 120 degrees Celsius per hour. And that's right up to the maximum temperature of 1,260 degrees Celsius, which is known as the set point. So the very, very highest point of temperature in the kiln firing schedule is called the set point. And then what happens is quite a lot of firing schedules will include a soak time, and that's when the kiln is just held at that very, very top temperature. It's just being held there to kind of allow the glaze to kind of melt. And in my kiln schedule, I soak the kiln at 1,260 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. So I have experimented with like different like soak times, and I soaked it once for like I think it was 17 minutes, and then I found that the verdigris color that I use in like my other pottery, not on this mug, I haven't used any, but I actually found that like it almost like burned the color out. It was like too hot for too long. So that sort of minute or two can make a real difference. So I found that 15 minutes is like the perfect soak time for my pottery. And so yeah, so it just soaks for 15 minutes at 1,260 degrees Celsius, and then my kiln just switches the temperature heating elements off. So then what it does is it just cools down naturally. So it's a very well insulated kiln, and it just cools down really slowly over a period of, well, it's quite a long time. So for example, I'm going to show you in a minute like a little video of the a video montage of like the kind of the kiln, the different parts of the kind of process and stuff. And I actually put this kiln on at about 5 in the evening on a Friday night. And then the little videos I've shown you when it's getting up to its very, very top I'll show you in a minute, getting up to its very, very top temperature, that's like Saturday morning, like the next day. So it still hasn't reached its set point by Saturday morning. And then I'd say about maybe 9:30, 10 in the morning, it got to its set point, and then it did its soak, and then it just started cooling. And then by Monday morning, I was able to open the kiln, because you need to wait for the kiln to absolutely cool down properly. It's really tempting to like open the kiln, just like, is everything, how is everything in there? But it can give like a thermal shock to your pots, really. So it's, and it also, is quite dangerous. So it's really important to like let the kiln cool down to, yeah, you want really like room temperature. But yeah, I mean, I guess if it's like, say, like 50 degrees or something, and you just want to have a peak, that's probably okay. But yeah, let the kiln cool down properly, 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 and then you can open it. So yeah, Friday night to Monday morning for me, that's my kind of kiln like firing like time that it needs, basically. So yeah, quite a long time. But it's, yeah, you've got to like let it cool down all that time. And like, some kilns actually will sort of control the way they're cooling, but my kiln doesn't do that. So like, for example, if a potter didn't want their kiln to cool down, like, as like maybe it's less well insulated, it's cooling down too fast or something, then sometimes the kiln can actually switch on to like, to kind of control the cooling. But yeah, my kiln just switches off. I could actually, I probably could put that into the controller, the kiln sort of temperature controller, which is just a little electronic timer sort of controller that sits like next to the kiln, and it could, like, tells the kiln what temperature to do. So I probably could type in sort of like a kind of controlled cooling period, but my kiln doesn't need it. It's fine. It's so well insulated, it just cools down naturally. That's fine. Okay, so let's watch a little video of like, yeah, the kiln. So okay, so here we go. Okay, so this is the kiln ready to go. We packed it in episode 9. So I'm just closing the lid here. So yeah, if you want to see this, you can watch the YouTube version, but I'll describe what's happening. So what I'm doing now is I've closed the lid. It's a top loading kiln, and I'm just putting on a little latch, which is just a little kind of safety latch just to keep the lid closed. Um, and then it's got a little air vent at the bottom. So I'm just like closing that air vent off. And then I've got an isolator switch, electricity. So it's electric kiln, which we've spoken about, and I just need to switch the isolator switch on, and that switches on the control panel, which just sits right on the side of the kiln. And I've already programmed the kiln schedule that I spoke about at the beginning of the episode. I've already programmed that into my controller, and so I just select program 2. I've programmed program 1 to be the bisque firing, but we're not doing that. We're just going to go straight up to stoneware temperatures. So yeah, I'm just cycling through the temperatures there to check I got the right one. And yeah, it's program 2. Okay, so this is Saturday morning. And so yeah, I just pressed play on that. I don't know if you saw, there's a little button that just press go. So Saturday morning, and we're up to over 1,000 degrees, and it's already used, well, it's like red hot in the kiln. It's already used about 30 kilowatt hours of electricity. And then we're back. It's nearly at its set point. It's 1,214 degrees Celsius in there. Wow. And it's used 36 kilowatt hours of electricity. And again, it's like white hot in that kiln. Gosh, it's like, yeah. I've got a little sort of air vent in the side, and you can have a little look at just how hot it's got. Okay, so I managed to catch it here. This took quite a while to get, but I managed to catch it right at the set point, to where it switched to its soak time. And I just wanted to show you there that it's like even brighter hot in there. It's like white, white, white hot. So there we go. It's going to, yeah, it's holding there for 15 minutes and then cooling down. Okay, so this is Monday morning, and it's 24 degrees. You can tell it's like summer. It'd be a little bit cooler otherwise in the UK, if it wasn't summer. So oh, here's the mug. Yes, I'm opening it up. It's 24 degrees in there, and the mug is, yeah, I'm so happy with that. It's all like fired properly. It's great. There's no cracks. The base is great, and there's a tiny bit of kiln on the bottom, tiny bit, and there's a couple of bits where I think the glaze might have fallen off in the kiln. You can see on the inside of the rim there. I think maybe because it's raw glaze, the glaze can just fall off the pot, and I think that might have happened on the inside of the rim, and it's just fallen inside the pot. So it's just made a kind of slightly rougher patch on the rim, but otherwise it's fantastic. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, but there are tiny, tiny little bits of kiln shelf on the base there, and what the next stage of like finishing off the mug that I do is literally just sanding the base, and I do that by just like twisting the base on a piece of sandpaper, just giving the mug a little rinse, just to get any of that sandpaper off, just under a tap, just like the kitchen tap, basically. Just dry it with a cloth, and the mug it's ready to make a cup of tea in. So yeah, that's just this is me making my first cup of tea in the mug. So it's might be a bit weird to listen to on the podcast, but basically I'm pouring in the water. I've got this really nice soy milk. It's actually organic soy milk from France. It's so nice. And then I've got like a real top tip here for like if you want to make, if you're really into tea, and you really like a sort of soya tea, then soya milk tea. Or I mean, I know lots of people use oat milk as well, and oat milk can be like quite creamy as well, can't it? But I actually put like a soya cream in my tea. This is my top tip, a little dash of soya cream, and it is so good in a cup of tea. So yeah, that's me with my two tea bag tea. Yeah, so the mug did work out like a little tiny bit smaller than I thought it was going to be, but like, that's always the case really when you make pottery. So yeah, I should measure it actually for you, shouldn't I? And then can tell you exactly how it turned out. Oh, yeah, it's a bit hot. Good to hold a mug by the handle, by the way. Yeah, so that's the first cup of tea. Okay, so yeah, here we are with the said mug of tea. I actually made a tea especially for the end of the episode. It's like, oh, yeah, really looking forward to drinking this. So I'm really happy with the way the mug worked out. There was a tiny, tiny crack, like a cosmetic crack at the very, very sort of top, like well, sort of side of the handle, but it's been glazed over, and I know that's like a really strong joint now. Yeah, and it's a lovely mug to sip from. Yeah, like I said, there's this like slightly strange, like kind of rough bit on the inside of the mug, and I think that is where the glaze might have just fallen off during the firing process, which can happen to any pottery, but yeah, raw glazing, sometimes that does happen. The glaze just kind of falls off. But generally, yeah, it's a really great glaze. I'm really happy with the glaze that we made. It's a really lovely glaze. So yeah, just to say, if you wanted to make that glaze, like we've spoken about lots on this series, you can get the How to Make a Pottery Glaze workbook. That recipe is in there. And also, if you did want to like learn more about firing schedules, after like seeing this episode and or hearing this episode about like, kiln firing and stuff, then I've also made another free guide, which is also in the show notes. And that's just electric kiln firing schedule. It's a bisque firing schedule and a stoneware glaze firing schedule for electric kilns. And that's got kind of like all the kind of terminology that's used as well in like kiln firing, like set point and soaking and stuff like that. And yeah, it just kind of goes through that, and like what the ramp speed is, just like how fast the kiln is heating up and stuff. And then it's got the kiln firing schedules for bisque firing and a stoneware glaze firing as well, um in that workbook. So yeah, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to measure actually the mug, and I'll tell you the final dimensions of it, and that'll be quite interesting for you to see like sort of the shrinkage rate, because we went through, didn't we, like when we were making the mug, like how big it was like on the wheel and stuff. Okay, so let's measure this mug and see how big it is at the end. Um, so it's 9.5 centimeters high, and then it's 10 centimeters wide. So, yeah, like I said, like slightly smaller than like I was like sort of hoping for. It's so hard to judge because it's still a really good big mug. I'm really pleased with it. It's more just like, yeah, when you set out to make something really big, quite often, it shrinks so much. It's really strange because you have to make it so much bigger on the wheel when you're making it initially. So yeah, something to consider. Yeah, another thing which I thought was quite interesting about this firing was that it actually used more energy than my normal glaze firing. So I actually had quite a few bits of raw glazed pottery in the kiln, yeah, it was like 46 kilowatt hours in the end, and that's more than normal. Like normally it's about 41 to 42 kilowatt hours, and that's per stoneware firing, and that's like, when everything's bisque fired. So that is super interesting because, my mind was like, well, raw glazing, it automatically saves all that energy from a bisque firing. But actually, I guess the case is that that might not be quite the right equation. It might be more about like, oh, it still uses a little bit more energy, in a glaze firing to get it straight up to like stoneware temperatures, so it doesn't completely cancel out all the energy used in a bisque firing. So that was really interesting. Yeah, I'd say I had probably about another kind of 4 mugs that were raw glazed, and a few other little dishes and some little Oxford hearts and stuff, which I kind of, yeah, like I said, when we packed the kiln, you saw, didn't you, like me placing them around. Some of those were raw glazed as well. So yeah, really interesting stuff. And I think another thing that's quite interesting about, like, you seeing like the little montage of like the different energy used at each part of the kiln firing process, is that you can see just how much energy is used at that very, very top part of the kiln firing. So, I guess, like, to be, in terms of like eco consciousness, most of the energy is used to get that pottery up to the stoneware temperatures. So, I mean, like, the thing is, I love firing stoneware because it's like the clay is fully vitrified. I know that I can put this mug in the dishwasher. I can even put it in the microwave if I need to. It's like, and like the glaze that I've used in on the mug is like, I know it's like food safe. They're just basically inert rocks. There was no colorants used at all. So, I do love stoneware, and I love the kind of the look of the stoneware clay, and it's great for tableware. But if you were kind of doing more like decorative work or something, then it's just, yeah, I suppose that's really interesting thing to think about, how much energy is used at that very, the very top temperatures. And so earthenware is more, I've heard other potters talk about this actually, that earthenware glazing, earthenware pottery is more eco-conscious for that reason, the fact that it's like, just uses lots less energy to fire. So yeah, so some interesting like reflections on the whole process. But I just wanted to say a massive, massive thank you to joining me, to you for joining me for this whole series on making a mug. It's been such a pleasure to do. It's been such a pleasure to like film all the videos, doing, actually it's been such a pleasure, and like talk to you about all the process as well. But it's been such a pleasure to like actually make something, and yeah, and like, yeah, record it and chat to you about it. And it's been so much fun to make. And just thank you so much, and for joining me. And yeah, hope you have a nice cup of tea too. And I hope, wishing you very happy potting. And yeah, I'm going to drink my cup of tea out of the mug, out the raw glazed mug. And yeah, until the next episode, wishing you very, very happy potting. And I'll see you then. Goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me on that episode. And if you want to find out more about eco friendly pottery, head over to the Oxford Clay website, which is www.oxfordclay.co.uk. Can't wait to see you there.